Did you know that condos are a great way to get your foot in the door in a more expensive neighborhood? And did you know that buying a single-family resident home, also known as a house, is a lot less complicated than the process of buying a condo? Hey everybody, my name is Jason. I'm a real estate agent. The reason I made this YouTube channel was to help people who are looking to buy a home and also to help people who are selling their home get the most money. First, we will look at the advantages versus the disadvantages of buying a condo versus buying a house. Next, we will have a face-off. We'll compare the sticker price offered for a condo versus the sticker price offered for a house. And we will compare that to the projected monthly payments that will need to be paid for the condo versus the projected monthly payments of the house. Finally, I will draw a conclusion and give my opinion on which one is better to buy, a condo or a house. Before I get started, you guys, I spent a lot of time researching and organizing this information. So if you would go ahead and feel free to hit the like button, I would appreciate that very much. Go ahead and just give that like button a little friendly tap. All right, thank you for that. And also, if you guys are newer here and you find the information that I give to be interesting and helpful, I will strongly suggest you subscribe so you can continue getting videos just like this, because there are plenty more to come. All right, okay, now for the fun part, guys. Let's get into the pros of buying a condo. Number one advantage of buying a condo is that they're usually less expensive. If you look at the same neighborhood, a house versus a condo, same bedrooms, the condo is usually going to be less expensive. So that is really good for a first-time home buyer, especially a single person or a small family. Next, the HOA, or the nonprofit organization that runs the whole group of units, the whole building in a condo, they maintain the outside. So for example, if you're a first-time homeowner and there's landscaping, there's things that need to be taken care of outside, there's a pool and different amenities like that, usually you don't have to even worry about taking care of that stuff, because when you pay the HOA payment for a service of professional people who maintain it, and you don't even have to schedule it, you don't have to think about it. Another advantage of buying a condo is that you could get into a more popular area for less money. We're going to take a look at a very popular area in Los Angeles that is really just gaining momentum, and the prices are growing. And buying a condo is a great way to get your foot in the door in this area before the prices get higher and higher. Also, when you buy a condo, if you have kids, it's a great way to get into a better school district with less money. Like I said, condos in the same area usually cost less money. So if your number one priority is to get your child or multiple children into a really good school district, and it's really hard to buy a house in that neighborhood, a condo may be an alternative way to own a home but still have access to that school district. Some condos have amenities, like I mentioned, they have pools. Some even have gyms and clubhouses, and that's really nice to have that in the same place where you live. And actually, some people save money because instead of paying for the gym membership and just having it in their condo. So that's another perk of owning a condo. Another thing to consider is that condos are really good for elderly people, or people who are retiring, or people who have difficulty with physical mobility, because you could buy a unit on the first floor, so that way you don't have to walk upstairs. Also, a lot of condos have underground parking, so you could drive your car into it, and usually from that underground parking you have an elevator. That's very great for elderly people and people who are retiring. And then finally, the last advantage that I'm going to mention about owning a condo is that it can be a stepping stone into a house. So for example, you can afford a condo in this neighborhood that you like, or an area with a school district that you like, or close to your work, but you cannot yet buy a house. You can go ahead and buy a condo for a lower price, and as the value goes up, as they typically do here in Los Angeles and other major metropolitan areas, then you could sell that home, and the profit that you make from the home going up in value can be your down payment for the house. So remember, guys, especially first-time home buyers, small families, the first home that you buy does not necessarily have to be your dream home, does not necessarily need to be the end-all be-all. And I learned this strategy from Tom, a loan broker that I work with. He said that he helps a lot of clients who first buy a nice condo and then they sell that, move into a house. Moving on, we have the pros, the advantages of buying a single-family residence or a house. So of course, a house does not have an HOA payment. Another advantage about owning a house instead of a condo is that you don't have to ask permission if you want to make any changes or adjustments or upgrades. If you want to tear a wall down or if you want to change anything major, you don't have to ask an HOA. Now with a condo, if you have to make changes within the walls, like if you wanted to paint the walls or change the baseboards, redo the floors, usually that is perfectly fine. Say for example, if you live in a condo and you wanted to knock down a wall or do some major construction, you usually will need to reach out to the HOA and ask for permission. Depending on the HOA, they may be slow to get back to you, so you may be waiting just to get permission to make changes to your house. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the loan process of buying a house is less complicated than when you're buying a condo. But when you work with a real estate agent like myself and you're buying a condo, make sure that that real estate agent asks the listing agent, the agent that's representing the seller of the condo, is there any litigation against the HOA? Are there any arguments from tenants or owners of units against the HOA? And or are there any lawsuits or disputes over water damage, mold, and things like this? This will raise a red flag for your bank. And if there's any issues, disputes, or lawsuits against the HOA, your bank may not give you a loan on that condo. But you definitely want to check that out and make sure that there are no lawsuits against the HOA before you even write an offer on a condo, so you don't waste your time. Obviously, like I said, with a house, you don't even have to worry about that because there is no HOA. Moving on, another advantage to owning a house versus a condo is that there's typically better parking. Usually you have a driveway and or a couple of spots. Usually a house shares a street with other houses, and houses are less compact, so therefore you typically have less people and you usually have more street parking on a street with a house. Final advantage to owning a house is that there's nobody above you, below you, or next to you that will make noise if you are sensitive to noise. Next, we have the disadvantages of owning a condo and the disadvantages of owning a house. So first, we'll look at the disadvantages of owning a condo. Number one, you typically have less square footage than a house with the same number of bedrooms. So say in an area that you're looking for, a house that is 3 bedrooms typically has 1,200 or 1,300 square feet of living space. A condo in that area will typically have something lower, for example, maybe 1,000, as low as 900 or 800. Like I mentioned earlier, that HOA monthly payment that you pay is not tax deductible, so that's another disadvantage of owning a condo. Like I said, the loan process of applying for a loan through your bank for a condo is much more complicated. The process takes longer, and sometimes the sellers will get a little impatient with you if something is holding you up. That happened to my last client when she sold her house and bought a condo. We needed HOA approval. That's a whole nother contingency, meaning another step that you need to clear before you finally get loan approval and buy the house. That does not exist with a single family home. Another disadvantage of owning a condo is that the parking can be bad, especially if on the street of the condo you have other multi-unit homes, whether they're other condos or apartments. If a lot of people own cars and you have a lot of apartments and condos, it can crowd up the street and that can make parking a nightmare. And finally, a disadvantage for owning a condo versus owning a house is that you usually need to buy earthquake insurance if you're here in California, and usually you need to buy a separate fire insurance that you could usually do. It's not too much of a hassle. You could usually do it through a car insurance company, and you could usually bundle that with your car insurance, but it's just another thing that you need to buy. It's usually not that expensive, typically 50 to 80, maybe $100 per month. Next up, we have the disadvantages of owning a house. So when you buy a house, a fixer, meaning a house that needs some work, can be more complicated and more expensive than when you buy a fixer that is a condo. The reason for that is because when you buy a fixer that's a condo, the only work that you do is within the walls, and usually that is pretty easy stuff. That's redoing the floors and painting and maybe fixing up some light fixtures, things like that. Now, when you have a fixer that's a house, you can have a yard that needs a lot of work. You could have landscaping, trees that need to be cut down. It could get very expensive even though the sticker price looks low. Another disadvantage of having a house is that you might have a pool or other things outside that require a lot of maintenance, and you have to hire somebody to take care of those things. That could get very expensive. And for those of you that are complaining about paying an HOA in a condo, somebody maintaining your pool and those water bills of watering your lawn can pile up and can be even more expensive than an HOA. You guys, next up, we're going to have a face-off. We're going to take a condo and we're going to take a house from the same area and see which one is better. Let's take a look. The area that we're going to focus on today is Northern Inglewood. The reason I chose this area is because it is still relatively less expensive than a lot of areas in Los Angeles, but it is blowing up, is getting very popular, and the prices are rising. This is a great place for young families and first-time home buyers to get into, to get their foot in the door and to live in Los Angeles, someplace near work. This is also a great place for investors to buy because with the Rams Stadium and the Crenshaw train that's going to come from Crenshaw to Inglewood all the way to the airport, all of these things are expected to really blow up the prices in this area. The prices are really going to get high once that Rams Stadium is finally built in 2030. First up, we have our condo. We have 122 West Kelso. It's in Northern Inglewood. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with 954 square feet, offered at $520,000. Looking at the inside of this condo, everything looks great. It looks shiny and new. The floors look like they're redone. Probably luxury plank vinyl, that sheen that they have to them. You typically don't see that in real wood, although it could be with a very glossy finish. Those floors are great. They look just like wood, but they're very durable and they don't scratch. The appliances are looking new as well. The kitchen is open, which is pretty rare and great for a condo. The sink looks very big and modern. That's a plus. Moving on to the bathrooms. The bathrooms have fresh paint and it looks like there's a new vanity. Either that bathtub is new or they refurbished it. It looks very shiny, in great shape. Once again, new lighting fixtures makes the place look brighter and newer. Another bedroom, it's in very similar condition. The paint is fresh. It's that light to medium gray, which is very trendy right now. It looks like they even put new trim in there, new fixtures. Everything looks great. Those floors, once again, looks like the same flooring. Looks shiny and new. Somebody gave this place a lot of love. Looking at the outside of this unit, you can see that that is one of the disadvantages of owning a condo, is that this is not just your own house with a yard around it. You share the space with other people. Some people actually prefer that. You can actually make friends and meet people. If you have kids, you might meet other people with kids, and it might be a really great experience for them to play with the other kids within the complex. So it could be an advantage or a disadvantage, but you definitely share your space with other people in a condo. Okay, so taking a look at the estimated monthly payments for 122 West Kelso. With the help of NerdWallet, it's a great tool. It's not sponsoring this video or anything, just something that I used when I bought my first home and something that I used to help clients estimate what their monthly payments are going to be. When you put 20% down, your monthly estimated payments for this condo is $2,584. Now that price is significantly lower than the 2-bedroom house that we're going to look at, and you'll see shortly. Next up, we have our house. Just like the condo we looked at before, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house with a bit more room, 1,300 square feet of living space. This home is offered at $665,000. Now right off the bat, that's $140,000 more than our condo that we're looking at in the same area. Also, another great thing about this house is it has a pretty decent sized lot. Here in Los Angeles, an average sized lot is maybe 5,000, 5,500. This lot is 6,200 square feet. That is a pretty good sized lot here in Los Angeles. So taking a look at this house from the outside, it looks quaint. The roof looks like it's in good shape. That's really good. That's a big thing. The outside doesn't look very fresh, but somebody's been maintaining it pretty well. I don't see any cracks. I don't see any discoloring, although it could use like a resurfacing or a fresh layer of paint. This house is on a corner, which could be a bit of a disadvantage. It could be noisy if a lot of cars come through, if they cut through big streets to get through traffic. That could bother some people who are sensitive to noise. However, if you don't care about cars passing through and you're not bothered by noise, that's not even a factor. Moving on to the kitchen in this house, it looks very closed off. It looks very dated. It's in somewhat good condition. It's not in very bad condition, but you see the floors are not in great condition, and those cabinets, they're not painted. They're a wood grain, which is a very old style. The hardware doesn't look so shiny. It looks like it needs to be replaced. This is definitely not as stylish as the kitchen in the condo. The tile on the floor near the kitchen is durable, but it's also not very stylish. It's out of date. So you have more square footage of living space in this house. The style is older than the condo. You can see the floors on the kitchen are a bit worn. They don't look exactly new like the condo did. This is very dated, but you can open the kitchen up. You could chop off those cabinets and make it open just like the condo was, which is a more modern style. People like to have open kitchen and living rooms. Here we are to the best part of the house. You have the outdoor area. The outdoor area is nice if you like to entertain. Looks like there's an outdoor barbecue right there. You can bring friends over, or you could just relax with your kids, with your pet, or just by yourself quietly reading a book, whichever you like. There's a nice overhang up above that can give you shade, especially on a hot summer day. That could be nice just sitting outside. What's the verdict? The estimated monthly payments when you put 20% down on this house is $3,161. Now that's roughly $500 more per month than the condo. So you see what I'm talking about, guys? The price advantage of buying a condo versus buying a house. $500 per month. Think about it, it may not sound like much right now, but that's $6,000 difference per year. And the condo has the same number of bedrooms. So my final thoughts, it's time to weigh in. What do I think? In my personal opinion, is it better to buy a condo or is it better to buy a house? Drum roll, please. Well, the answer is that it depends. And I would say that condos are great for 3 types of people. Number 1, first-time home buyers. Number 2, small families looking to get their foot in the door, or anybody looking to get their foot in the door into home ownership. And number 3, actually retired people. All right, now a single family residence or a home, those are great for people who enjoy yard space and have pets that want to play with the pets in the yard, and they like a little bit more privacy. Typically people who don't like noise and sharing close spaces with other people. If it really irks you to have a neighbor above you that makes noise, single family residence is a great way to go. However, if you really want to buy a house in a neighborhood that is a little bit out of reach and it's very expensive right now, I would strongly suggest to buy a 2-bedroom condo, wait a few years, sell it, and then you could buy that house that you always wanted. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. Feel free to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And also, if you want to see more videos like this, I strongly suggest that you subscribe. If you want to see another video where I talk about strategies to buy a home and to get a deal, go ahead and click that video right here. All right, thank you guys once again. Feel free to give this video a like. I would appreciate that very much. And if you want to learn more about buying a home for the lowest price or selling your home for the highest price, putting the most money in your pocket, go ahead and subscribe.